Today we are going to go over the Revolutionary War, some background to that, but mostly we're going to go through the different battles and ultimately the outcome of this war. Our essential question as we are going through this is going to be, what were the major events of the American Revolution? Why do you care? Well, many patriots sacrificed their lives for the freedoms that we have today. Without winning this war, obviously we wouldn't be a free country and we wouldn't have officially broken away from Great Britain. This is going to be ultimately the story of liberty or death, and that story is going to be found in learning about the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War. As we go through today, make sure you guys are filling out your Cornell notes. You can go beyond the sentence starters if you want to, but what you have for the sentence starters there is going to be something that's required, and it's going to help you understand the war a little better. Alright, so I know we've already gone over part 1 of the American Revolution, and that was the causes leading up to it. Now it's time for part 2, the actual revolution, the actual war, and the breaking away from Great Britain. This learning starts with the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress is going to be in 1775, right after the battles of Lexington and Concord. They are going to meet to make sure that they have an army for defense. After the battles of Lexington and Concord, where blood is shed, they need to make sure they are organized and ready to defend if need be. John Adams actually proposes what is called a Continental Army, made up of troops from all of the colonies. To lead this army, Adams is going to nominate George Washington of Virginia. George Washington had battle experience in the French and Indian War, and therefore the delegates are going to agree that they need to have something to defend themselves, and they unanimously elect Washington to be commander-in-chief in this new Continental Army. So this Continental Army does not scare the British, obviously. The British are actually going to increase their troops. So the next time that this Continental Congress meets, they will go over that important document we just got done learning about, the Declaration of Independence. So they're going to meet together, and we know that argument takes a while, but officially they are going to pass that declaration on July 4th, 1776. We know that this Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson and revised by Congress, declaring human rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all men are created equal. And of course, the main purpose was to divulge information about why the colonies were breaking away and becoming independent from the King of England, King George III. I know I've been talking a lot about the fact that this wasn't necessarily a popular decision to become independent, and this is what I mean by it. So hopefully this pie chart helps here. This is a breakdown of people's beliefs in the colonies. At this time, at the time of independence in 1776, about 45% of people in the colonies considered themselves patriots. About 25% still considered themselves loyalists, and about 30% were really neutral. They were undecided, did not know what to do. And this is problematic because in order to win a war, you need large support. Large support, especially on the home front. Not necessarily of the soldiers, but the women, the children, everyone involved to help support this war. And with only 45% of the colonists truly being patriots, that was a difficult task. So let's talk about the two armies here. We have our Continental Army. This is the army that includes all of the colonies. Some nicknames for these men include Minutemen, Patriots, or Militia. They had some strengths here. They had excellent leadership in George Washington. They had extreme motivation to fight. If you're fighting for your independence, you are going to be motivated. And they were fighting on their home turf. They're fighting on the east side. Weaknesses, they didn't have many supplies. They didn't have much naval support, or at all, and they had limited experience. They had not seen a war or been in a war before. Very, very few were involved in the French and Indian War. Then the British Army on the other side. They are very experienced. They are very well trained and disciplined and extremely well supplied and funded. This is the strongest army in the world. This is the richest country in the world from the time. But some weaknesses include they're fighting far from home, and they're going to use old-fashioned tactics of fighting, which you're going to see is ultimately going to lead to their demise. Alright, so you can see our kind of timeline down here. Continental Congress is meeting, declaration, and then the war is going to start after the declaration. So the first battle is the Battle of New York, and it does not turn out very good for the Patriots, the Continental Army. Early on, this is a very difficult war for the Patriots. The Patriots are going to lose heavily for about the first 2 years of the war, and the British are going to completely take New York and almost destroy the entire Continental Army just in that one battle. After really these first 2 years, the Patriots are going to go into almost hiding mode, and they're going to try to develop a new strategy. The strategy they develop is something really warfare hadn't really seen before. It's kind of that guerrilla warfare strategy. And we see this with the fighting in the state of New York at the time against General John Burgoyne's army of the British. So we're going to see this turn a little bit here. So now we're going to see some later successes with this new tactic. What the colonists are going to do is they're going to kind of hit and run Burgoyne's army, and they're going to mostly make Burgoyne's army pretty much starve them out. They're going to run out of supplies, and they're going to be mentally and physically defeated. So the Continental Army actually meets Burgoyne's army of the British near Saratoga Springs on the Hudson River. And the Patriots are going to attack, hit Burgoyne's officers, peel back, then hit Burgoyne's officers again, and ultimately Burgoyne is going to surrender at the Battle of Saratoga. Burgoyne's surrender marks a turning point in the war. Ever since this mark, the Patriots are going to now be ultimately motivated, and they're going to have that momentum that is desperately needed in the time of war. So after winning Saratoga, France is going to be all in on the colonies as well, and they're going to join the war on the side of the rebels, which would be the Patriots. So their help was absolutely vital, because now France not only are going to bring more troops, but they're actually going to bring a navy as well. Now that France is with the Continental Army, this is going to help it drastically. This leads to the Battle of Yorktown, where the united French and American army, now that they're together, are going to surround the British army at the Battle of Yorktown. And as you can see from the timeline, this is a while. We see that France joins in 1778, and we almost have 2 years where nothing really happens. And then finally this big Battle of Yorktown is going to occur. A lot of the time in here is going to be preparation, training, getting the French army acclimated, that sort of thing. And it ultimately leads to here at Yorktown. At the Battle of Yorktown, the French and the Continental Army are going to beat the British so badly that the British commander is actually going to surrender. And this was just the beginning of the end for the British. So now we see that the Battle of Yorktown is ultimately going to end this war. The final toll. The war is going to last 8 years, longer than any other war until 1960. 25,000 Americans are going to die, 8,000 are going to die in battle, 10,000 are going to die from disease, and 7,000 are going to die in prison camps. The surrender leads to the Treaty of Paris. The Treaty of Paris is actually going to be signed, as you can see from the timeline, about 2 years after the Battle of Yorktown, and it's going to be signed in 1783, recognizing the United States independence. This is going to soon inspire others like France to rebel against their kings. So officially, in 1783, the United States, because of the Treaty of Paris, is an independent and free country. That ends this mini explanation of the Revolutionary War. please make sure you can rewind and fill out your Cornell notes accordingly.